too. Yeah, he does, man. And that's why I love that he uses people in the pew as well to reach out to us if our hearts are so hardened that the word isn't penetrating our understanding and stuff like that. So
and like he will never understand it, but might never see it. But when I remember hearing about you guys becoming a part of our church because of the festival. It's like you might never see it, but you just people at New Life just serving at the festival. And they might not know it, but because of their effort serving in that afternoon, your family know Jesus. And it's just this everyday, mundane serving Jesus that we might not see, but has eternal impact more than anything in this world.
I'm not sure Glenn knows it, but I'm pretty sure I'm the person he talks about whenever he says, a guy came to the festival and he wanted to pay for everything.
Were you that guy?
That was me, bro.
It was you.
Because I had all my kids there, right? And they went and got a sausage sizzle. So they were eating the sausages walking past me. And I think I was talking to Glenn or something at the time. We were just out here.
Yeah.
And then I walked straight to the sausage sizzle. And I was like, oh, how much for that, man? He's like, he looked at me with the strangest look like, mate. They already eaten them for a start, but he said, no, they were free. I said, what? And then I like curry and stuff, and there was curry there, and I said, oh, can I have some of that? And then, I can have a drink again. And I pulled out my wallet, and everyone's just looking at me like, what?
It's free.
Because I was working, at the time, I was working in the tunnels making ridiculous money. So I thought money could buy everything.
I would understand if you have 8 kids and they're all start grabbing sausages. At some point you feel like, maybe I should pay. That's a lot of sausages.
Yeah, exactly. And I hear Glenn say that every time, and I always think to myself, am I that guy that he's talking about? I'm sure I am, but
you're probably one of them. There's probably a lot of them. Like when I serve at the festival, some people would say, is this for free? Is it real? Yeah, it's for free. You don't have to pay for anything. You don't have to donate. It's for free. We're giving it out to the community.
Were you at the last one that we had here?
No, I wasn't here in the last one.
No, that's all right. But we've started having the bouncy castles up the back there.
I wasn't here in the September one.
Yes, so the one before you.
I wasn't the one on the March one.
Yes.
I visited. I didn't tell anyone I came here.
Yeah.
I was just free in the afternoons. I'm like, oh, come on.
But for me, it's such a beautiful way for me to go to my work colleagues.
Yeah.
That have got young children, bro. Bring your kid down, and I don't know if you've seen me with kids. I love kids, bro. So
I've seen you with kids. Yeah.
I was just like, mate, you go and do what you want to do. Me and the kid will go and find something to do, bro. But we had every time our bouncy castles have gotten bigger for unknown reasons. It's just happened. And I heard these 2 mothers standing there, and she was like, these bouncy castles get better every time we come here. And the kids are just going for gold, mate. But I think we had like 135 people serving.
Wow.
At that one you came to in March.
That's amazing.
I think just about every single life group was here. And we've got 9 of them, 10 of them.
That's so amazing.
Yeah. And that's when we started, because my wife's in the mission team. Yeah. That's when they started to really look at, mate, this isn't just beneficial for the community. Yeah. This is benefiting our congregation because it's encouraging one another to spur each other on.
Yeah. That's so good to hear.
Yeah, I think the most they got was 130 or something. And then you've got teenage kids out of jam and sitting down painting little kids' faces and just for them to do that. I think one year we had one of the teenagers running that section of that. You've got the kids our teenagers in here doing teenage games and stuff like that. And then even just having those boys out the front doing car park and it's just like it seems.
I remember that they were wearing the clown costume. That was so funny.
Swinging sides around.
Yes.
But you've just got to make. I think it's just you just got to make opportunities.
Yes.
Because they don't all want to be a face painter. They don't all want to stand around the bouncy castle watching kids bounce around going mentally crazy, or they don't know how to cook food. So you've just got to create these little atmospheres for them to go, I can have a go at that one. Because like you're saying, like you said about your guitar playing, you know, just doing a little bit of service can sometimes lead you into more service.
Yes.
And then you start to talk to people about serving, and then you hear, you know, God's word tells you so much to be servant-hearted. And
I think the beauty about serving at church is that it moves you from being a consumer to living out your faith. Part of being a Christian is that I serve the people around me. If God calls me to love these people, then whether I think about it or not, by giving up my time and effort, I'm loving the people in my community.
yes.
And it forces me to grow, and it becomes God's way to help you to grow and mature.
So university, you studied?
I started at computer science, and then when I was doing computer science, I did Japanese as an elective.
Oh,
For the fun of it. And then after doing that for 1 year, I'm kind of like, you know, I really like this Japanese thing. Just learning language. I just love learning languages. So before I did Japanese, I studied Dutch. Because I was in this church. So it's my favorite party trick. Every now and then I sit with all Dutch people and I'd say something in Dutch. And they would just give me like the most surprised face. I'm like, why does this Asian boy know Dutch? I just did Japanese for the fun of it. It was just going to be like a hobby. But I switched degree to teaching. I did Japanese and English. I was hoping to teach Japanese in Australia as a high school teacher. I realized I was doing Japanese. I also enjoyed teaching people. So I did that. And then my first semester in my Japanese degree, the staff worker at my uni asked me what am I going to do with my Japanese degree. He's like, oh, what are you going to do with your degree? Is it in terms of like ministry kind of thing? Oh, I could do mission work in Japan or something like that. And then I went to this conference called NTE, which stands for National Training Event. It's like in Canberra. It's like all the uni students would come together. They get trained. So like my first year, I got trained how to write a Bible, like Bible talk. We would read the Bible. And now I lead those strands. Every time I would listen to my students give their talks, I'm like, wow, you did that so well in your first go. I remember my first go, it was atrocious. Every time I remember it, I was like, oh, you call that a Bible talk? That was so atrocious. But so I was NTE, I went to the Japanese elective. And I'm just hearing the need in Japan. These are all the different problems in Japan. And the gospel is a solution, you know. It's a country have no hope. Well, Jesus brings hope. It's a country that feels lonely and have no community. Well, Jesus knows what it's like to be lonely and
build a community around him.
And in fact, if you become a Christian, you become part of this big family. You know, there's all these different kind of problems, and I was just being challenged. Like, why should I stay when the people out there needs to hear about Jesus? So from there on, I started thinking about maybe I should do mission work in Japan. And actually, I went to Japan for 6 months. I was in uni. Just before COVID. I was forced to come back because of COVID. So before COVID hits Australia, COVID was already in Japan. I was in Japan. Oh man, before you guys were like running out of toilet paper, I was in Japan. I had to walk 45 minutes to find a shop that sells toilet paper. It was like people were lining up in shops to buy toilet paper. This is
so it was going on all around the world.
It was in Japan. And we were just sitting there like, what do we do? We're gonna run out of toilet paper soon. And then I thought to myself, Australians are a bit more sensible people. They'll never do this kind of thing. And then when I start doing it, I'm like, come on, guys. Come on now.
Even didn't someone come on the news and say, we manufacture it
I know.
in Victoria. And why is everybody doing this?
And they were like, we produce it here, and in fact, we provide enough. The supply, if you don't do anything different,
Stupid,
we have more supply than we ever need. But no, we was not buying toilet paper. Anyway, I experienced that in Japan, and I was forced to come back because of COVID. I came back the day before hotel quarantine. I missed out on living in a 5-star hotel for free.
14 days.
I know, for free. But then again, when I heard people's experience about it,
some of them were bad.
I'm like, I'm glad I went home. It was nice to be home.
Some of them were bad.
So in uni, I was challenged to think about global mission, and I still wanted to do global mission, God willing. If God sends me there, I would go. And live in another country, to different people, to different to me, and to share them about Jesus. Because if nobody goes there, who would?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, God will save His people, but God will save His people through His people.
That's it.
I have saved you. I will send you to a people that is not your own, so that they will have a chance to hear the gospel.
No different to what Paul and Peter talked about.
Yeah.
You know, they came to the agreement. Peter, you stay with the Jews and keep proclaiming the good news of the gospel. But I'm going to go to the people that do not know Him, wouldn't have a clue who it is, what the faith and the belief is.
Yeah.
So
The people just completely different. Imagine when the first time Paul had pork, he would have been like, for 30, 40 years of my life, I have found this disgusting, and now I have to eat it for your sake. I remember when I was in Japan. Oh my goodness. One of the things I was super scared about was public baths. So in Japan, have you heard of onsens, like hot springs?
Yes, we
Well,
got them in New Zealand.
Yeah, but in Japan, everyone is nude.
Oh, yes.
I remember before I went there, I was so scared. The thought of it embarrassed me so much. I would just go red thinking about it. This is so embarrassing. I remember the first time I went there, and it was like, for the sake of the gospel, I would go here and experience this. I mean, I loved it. The first time I went there, I was so embarrassed. I was like in a bath full of naked people, and then once I got in, it's like, it's so relaxing. Thinking about it makes me feel relaxed. It was so good.
Yeah.
It was weird because before I went to Japan, I was like, I would do this for the sake of the gospel, but I would never do this naturally. And then I came out of there, I was like, I would just invite my friend, hey, you're free on a Saturday night, you're going to go on a public bath. It's a weird cultural experience. And I went from this person who was so against it to like, because of the gospel, I would do this, to like, I love it. I would hang out with my mates in the public bath. It's a weird, when living in Australia makes me think that's a weird thing to do, but in Japan it's so normal.
Yeah. That's the different places we come from. Same in New Zealand, we have different ways of doing it.
Yeah, but it's kind of like, I will do this because of the gospel, not because I would naturally find it great.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And then that led you to MTS.
Yeah, so my plan was after uni, I would go to Japan and teach English. That was my plan, to just live life in Japan, experience the culture, learn the language, and be part of the church and encourage the church by being a lay member. I didn't have to be in a full-time ministry to serve the church and to share the gospel. But COVID happened, that threw all my plans, and I just couldn't find a job after finishing uni, like in 2020. Everybody knows, it's hard to find a job during that time. And so I was like, I'll just do MTS, and I'll do MTS. I'll do teaching, maybe in Japan, maybe in Australia. But then like 2 months in, Brian told me, he was like, you should do full-time ministry. I was like, 2 months in, what do you mean you should do full-time? I just started my job. I just started my role as an apprentice. And originally my plan for the first year was like, I'll just finish MTS and go back to full-time work.
Yeah.
And that's just going to be it. Maybe I'll go to Japan and full-time worker, serving the church, sharing the gospel whenever I can. But like after doing a year, I'm kind of like, you know what? I should do this full-time ministry thing. Yeah. So that's kind of the decision that led me to like, after MTS, I'm going to college. I'm old enough. If I start doing more work, I'll probably take longer. I was a bit patient. So I was like, I'm just going to college.
But it was very encouraging to watch you, because you had to battle with the church community through COVID.
Yeah.
And that was rough.
That was rough. Oh my God.
I don't know how other churches fared during that time.
Yeah.
But we've come out of it really, really well. But during that time, it was tough. It was the good thing about COVID is it forces every church to be creative. If you aren't creative enough, it would have been devastating.
You'd either stop church, or your people start going to other churches. So it forces everyone else is kind of like this normal trajectory. You learn to do one-to-ones, you learn to Bible study. This is the format that we do. This is how our church does it. And then COVID happens and like,
Now what?
now what? How do we run Bible study?
Yeah.
I remember like I was so happy. It was like I was running a one-to-one with someone, and I was just like using a screen. I was highlighting. I was like, look, have you noticed this word and this word? And I'm like, if I do that in person,
it doesn't have the same effect.
It doesn't have the same impact. They probably won't pay as much note. But the fact that we're both in a screen, this was me helping you pay attention. But also by helping you pay attention, you actually see more of God's word. And I was like, this is so much fun. And I was like, I get to try all these different weird things.
And coming from computer science.
Yeah.
Stuff like that would have helped.
You'd be surprised. Just because I came out of computers doesn't mean I'm good with technology. I was leading a Bible study, and my co-leader would just say to me, look at this old man, doesn't know how to use Zoom. And he was like 10 years older than me. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He was just making all these jokes like, yeah, fair enough. I'm not very good with all these Zoom things.
Yeah.
I learn by just like fumbling about and eventually I'll figure out what to do. But if you're in a Bible study with 10 people and you're like, the pressure is on, you got to get it working. Oh.
Because did you preach during lockdown?
My first sermon was during lockdown in front of a camera.
Yes.
It was a very weird experience. Oh, my first sermon, Bible talk, was really in front of a group of people. It was 5 minutes long.
Oh, yes.
And my first church sermon was in front of a camera.
To your congregation.
And it was like...
And more.
Where do I look?
Yeah.
I was like, what do I do? There's literally no one in the room. And I have to pretend that there's someone there. What do I do? It was a weird experience.
But you done really well, and Phil had to go down the same path as you. You both had to, which I think is a great thing to have two disciples, because you can sort of encourage one another and spur each other on, because it wouldn't be easy.
I think when I talked to Dave and Ned, how much they preach, I don't know whether I'm one of the contributing factor, but when I was at MT, I was like, I'll do as much preaching as I can, because this is the last time they would get this much opportunity to preach. I was just like, I think I set up a culture where we expect the MTS to preach as often as they can. I'm like, oh well, sorry, Ned and Dave, but like, I heard you're doing well, but probably the reason why you preach a lot.
But now they're doing well too.
Yeah, I've heard good things.
You've set up a good stead, Phil. And you and Phil were both very servant-hearted men. So you set a pretty high bar. Who was before you?
Justin and Amy.
Yes, I remember we came just sort of to the end of their 2 years, I think.
I think because I saw them do MTS, I felt encouraged I could do MTS. Like, I thought about doing MTS because of uni ministry. I was active in uni ministry. I thought to myself, maybe I'll do MTS in the future after I've done some work. Maybe I'll do some uni ministry. But like, I was being part of the church, and I remember doing this Acts course with Brian, where we would look at the book of Acts and we would read articles about it. He gave us homework.
Yeah,
I remember doing this homework like half an hour before we would go to the session. It was me, Suhan, and Phil writing like a whole page, like a short essay about, what did
30 minutes.
Why do you think Paul did? What was Paul's strategy for doing mission? Just me and Phil, just like, what are your thoughts? Quick, I have to write one page in the next half an hour before we head there with Brian. It was so funny, but like, as I read through the book of Acts and as Brian guided us through it and as we did this homework and seeing what was Paul's strategy for doing mission, and I just saw how important the church was in God's mission. In fact, the church was not just a factor. It wasn't just like, it was nice to have. It was actually, Jesus came to build the church. He didn't just die to save individual sinners. He died to bring a people. To
create to
bring the church. In fact, the church is the end result. It's not a means to an end. It's sort of the end. Now, I'm still wrestling with the idea. Some people at college would say that the church is the end of, it's not the means, but it's the end to which Jesus was working towards. I'm not sure whether, I sort of see where they're going. I see that all the Bible is pointing out to the day when we will be with Jesus, and I gonna make sense. But also Jesus died to bring glory to himself and to God. Jesus died because he loves us. I guess there's multiple facets to why Jesus did all his work.
Yeah.
But like the church is one of them.
Definitely.
And just seeing how important the church was to God's mission made me think maybe I should do church ministry instead of student ministry. And seeing Brian was going to train me, I wouldn't say no to that.
Yeah.
Brian was
Awesome.
great.
Yeah.
I've learned so much about Brian. I think one of the things I've learned from Brian was that I'm not a machine. Brian was a machine. He would just like do so much work. He would work from morning till evening. And he was super organized to get things done. He knows what to do.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things I learned from Glenn was that like it's okay to not being able to do anything.
To be a machine.
And it was like, when I sit with Glenn and he would tell me, you know what, I'm really struggling writing a sermon. I was just mowing the lawn the other day because I just couldn't wrap my head around this. I was just like seeing some guy who's done ministry for more than 10 years say to me, I can't do it. And that really helped me because I thought to myself, I have to be able to do everything and have to be like Brian. But actually seeing Glenn, it's kind of like, it's okay to say I can't do it. And to learn to just like, I have my own weaknesses and there's things I'm good at. And that's okay. And that God uses me. I've seen so many people brought to know Jesus because of Glenn. And I'm so thankful just watching him. I think I've learned more watching Glenn, whereas I learned a lot from Brian, just watching him, but also he just directly telling me here's how I think about ministry, here's how you should think about ministry, and the other.
Oh, you've got to have both sides of it. You've got to have that, like you're saying, that theological push and drive behind you, as well as a passion for application and for people. And you
Glenn,
need that beautiful mixture of...
And Glenn was this practical, down-to-earth guy who just knows how to talk to people who are in a broken mess. He just like, these people are broken, this come from a messy family. These are just the people that Glenn knows how to talk to. And I was just like, great, I wish I could do that. It's so amazing how Glenn would just talk to people who come from this background here. He just knows how to share the gospel with them. He's a good salesman. And he knows how to sell the gospel to people. It's so amazing.
But that's it. When you become a believer and you learn that God has given you these wonderful gifts, but so many of us squander it using them in the world for no eternal gain or anything. And then when you start to see people use it for the glory of God, what a game changer.
I know, it's so wonderful.
It's like, I never saw him as a salesman, but like we're saying, the way that I see him share the gospel, it's like, imagine if you were trying to buy a car or what did he used to sell, cleaning products or something? It's like, I would have bought everything you had to offer me.
He's so good at it.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll cut it there, brother. And
thank you so much for having me,
man. And